Welcome back to Briggs on Books, a truly international talk show on books where we talk to authors, ask them about their process, find out a little bit about their book, and most importantly, where can you buy the book? Our next author is fascinating, gentleman, and his name is Jamey O'Donnell. Welcome, Jamey.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
We have your book up there, Hunting for the Lamb. By the way, where are you located right now?
I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado. Nice. Now, you have a couple of books out. I guess the first was Hunting for the Lamb of God. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Hunting for the Lamb of God was inspired by a book that I had written a few years ago, or that I had read a few years ago, by an author by the name of Dr. William Fortune. He is actually a professor at Montreat College in North Carolina, and the book is about the effects of an EMP after it hits this little mountain town in North Carolina and the destruction it causes. And I've always been pretty fascinated with that subject anyway. It's actually the number one concern of all the defense think tanks in the United States right now, because we're woefully unprepared if something like this were to happen. So that's what inspired me to write the book. But my thought was, well, it's one thing for that to happen in a little mountain town where everybody kind of knows each other and takes care of each other. What would happen if something like that, what would the effects be in a major urban area such as New York, Chicago, or Denver? And that's the focus of the book. So what happens is Iran and North Korea, after years of debilitating sanctions that they've had against them, they decide to collaborate together, and they construct 3 nuclear warheads, and they put them on container ships that are parked off the east and west coast of the United States. The third missile is smuggled in through the Gulf of Mexico into Mexico up to Matamoros, just below the U.S. border. All 3 missiles are fired simultaneously into the thermosphere of the United States, and they explode simultaneously, creating a super electromagnetic pulse, an EMP. And what it does, it completely fries everything in the lower 48, southern Canada, northern Mexico, Cuba, and the Caribbean islands. So when I tell you it fries everything, anything electrical at all immediately ceases to exist. That means anybody with a pacemaker is going to drop dead right then and there. All electricity shuts off. There's no running water, no TV, no phone, no radio, no internet, no nothing. It completely, in a matter of a second, throw us back to the early 1800s.
Wow.
And so what the book does, it tracks the footsteps of 2 families that live across the street from each other in a suburb south of Denver, Colorado, as they navigate through this nightmare. And what ends up happening, where the title of the book comes in, it's twofold. The hunting part comes from what ends up happening is the neighbors in the neighborhood, when they start running out of food, they start hunting each other. And the other part of the hunting for the Lamb of God is one man's search for God, and one of the protagonists in the book, and he finds him.
It's fascinating what you're saying. You said think tanks are concentrated or are afraid of this happening, but I could picture what you're saying happens in your book. It could happen. I guess the technology's there. Certainly they could get a container ship to the West Coast. Maybe they might not be able to get a bomb off of it, but they could get the ship right here to our shore.
Oh, there is no doubt about that. And not only can it happen that way, but can happen naturally, and it has in our past.
Yeah.
It was 164 years ago, in 1859, there was a thing called the Carrington event. And this was a natural super solar flare that hit all of the United States and Europe. And what it did, back then, the only thing electrical that we really had were telegraph stations and telegraph wires. It fried all the telegraph wires, literally shocked some of the telegraph operators, set stations on fire, literally fried all the wires, not only in the United States, but in Europe as well.
Your volume just went out, Jamey. I just lost your sound. Oh, there,
Can you hear me?
I got you now. You got us on the edge of our
'Cause
seat,
I
Jamey.
can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? We don't have controls that could turn your sound on and off or your mic on and off.
There you go. I can
There
hear
you
you
go.
now.
Okay. You have us on the edge of our seats, Jamey, with the story, and all of a sudden the sound goes out. Maybe we got hit by a solar flare just now.
You never know. So what's the last thing you heard me say?
Oh, you're saying even the telegraph offices, maybe some of them burst into flames.
Right. It even fried the transatlantic cable that we had just laid on the ocean floor.
Under the water.
Yeah, on the ocean floor connecting the United States to Europe. It even fried that. So that happened 164 years ago. Now, NASA scientists have estimated that this is a natural occurrence that happens every 100 to 150 years.
So we're due. We're due for that then.
We're due, or we're maybe a little overdue.
Yeah. Boy. Now, by the way, you have two books. I keep putting the one cover, Hunting for the Lamb of God, up on the screen, but I'm going to put the other one, the Living for the Lamb of God, on the screen. Is it a continuation, a sequel?
It is. It's a sequel, and I just released it about a month ago. And it continues where Hunting for the Lamb of God leaves off.
Yeah. Now,
I don't want to tell you too much about it, but I will tell you that it continues the saga. It's a couple years after the initial EMP attack, and the families are moving locations, and they start getting a few breaks, and they end up settling in an old scout ranch outside of Colorado Springs, and they start. The whole idea is to start to try to rebuild America, but the problem is the hunters are what the cannibals are called now. They're called hunters because they're hunting human beings.
Yeah.
There's also another country in our country looking to exploit our natural resources.
Now, what do you call this genre? It's not really science fiction because it could happen.
Well, yeah, it's not science fiction. It's post-apocalyptic dystopian fiction along the lines of, say, maybe the Hunger Games, or there was a series of movies that came out. Maze Runner would be another one.
But this what you're describing could happen tomorrow.
Well, that's the thing. This is something. It's not like a zombie apocalypse or anything like that. This is something that could really happen, and it could happen any minute. It could happen. I mean, just imagine, Mike, if it happened right now.
Right.
First of all, everything gets shut down, right? And so your first reaction is going to be to call somebody. Your phone's going to be dead. You're going to go out to your car to start your car. Your car's not going to start. I don't know how many miles away you live from your studio, but you're walking home.
Walking home, yeah. And you don't know what you're going to find along the way or what you're going to find when you get home because you can't communicate to find out.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing. Hey, before we run out of time, you have another book out. I'm putting the cover on the screen, Meth War. And it's this kind of autobiographical, but it's a fictional account.
Well, it's definitely fictional, but it's based on a lot of things that happened to me in my life. For full disclosure, I've been clean for 21 years, but I was formerly a methamphetamine junkie, did meth most of my life. And I'm 66 now, so that'll tell you, I did a lot of meth for a long time. And this is about being homeless. And so Meth War is basically the premise of the book. It's a fictional account of the great methamphetamine war in 1993 in the San Bernardino Valley in Southern California, between the satanic underground and the independent meth cooks. And the reason that they're warring with each other is they're trying to take control of the methamphetamine game. And incorporates every myth, rumor, and half-truth I'd ever heard out on the streets. I've been homeless. I've been part of that scene. So It's got a lot of murder, mayhem, mystery, and intrigue.
Yes. Has to be the hardest thing. I've heard it's the hardest thing to get off of meth.
It was. What got me off of meth was the birth of my son.
Oh,
My
nice.
son was my son was born, and I finally hate or love someone more than I hated myself.
There
Is
you
what I
go.
like to tell
Yeah.
people, and he's the reason I quit. And I ended up raising him all by myself.
Wow.
So it was something I had to do, and I did.
That's a wonderful
And
story. You gave him
he's going
life.
somewhere.
You gave him life, and he gave you a new life. That's a good
Exactly.
story. Yeah.
That's exactly how it is.
Tell me, we're running out of time, but I could talk to you all day, Jamey. Tell me what we would find there. I have your web address up on the screen, jameyo'donnell.com. What would our viewers find if they went to that website?
Well, it's a great website. They would find all three books, and if they're interested in them, they'll be able to read the first two chapters of each book online to decide if they want to buy it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, they start reading those first two, they're going to go out and get the book.
I was going to say, that's not fair, because when we read it, we're going to buy it, because it's going to pull us in. I will go read the first few chapters, and I will order the book,
They
too.
will also see my story. They'll be able to read my story. They'll be able to read all kinds of reviews. My book was awarded a Kirkus Star, and it was up for Book of the Year. They'll be able to read the Amazon. I've got a 5-star Amazon review.
Okay.
I've got all kinds of major reviews on there.
Yeah.
They'll be able to see the Q&A page. I've done other interviews, and this interview here is probably going to end up on my page, on the interviews page, and there'll also be a purchase page where they can go to different places to buy the books.
Very good, very good. Jamey, you're a fascinating person. Your backstory is fascinating, being homeless and on meth and getting off of that, and the whole thing is just fascinating. I'm going to read these books, so thanks for introducing them to me at least, and I hope our viewers got something out of the interview as well. We're out of time, but any last thoughts for our viewers?
Yeah, I did want to say this. I have another book coming out called Epiphany. It'll be released right after the first of the year. It's a great book. It's a thriller, and that will be available as well.
Very good. Jamey O'Donnell is our guest. Look at his web address. It's right on the screen, jameyo'donnell.com. It's the easiest web address ever. And what great books. Jamey, thank you for your time. I truly mean that, and we will talk to you. And when I read the book, we're going to get you back on. I'll ask you a million questions.
Absolutely. I'd love it.
All right, Jamey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.